The parable of the unfinished tower, the price of following Jesus. Luke 14:28-30 Introduction. Have you ever stopped to think why so many people know the Bible, but live as if they'd never read a single line? Why are there thousands of Christians who can quote verses by heart, but in practice their lives don't reflect anything they preach? Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Knowing about Jesus isn't the same as living with Jesus. And the difference between the two is exactly what separates a faith that transforms from a faith that merely informs. Jesus didn't come to the world to give theology classes. He came to revolutionize lives. And how did he do it? Through simple, powerful stories that anyone could understand, but that few actually applied. The parables weren't pretty tales to pass the time. They were truth bombs disguised as simplicity. Each one carried a principle capable of completely changing how you live, love, work, relate to God and to people. But there's a catch. Knowing the parable isn't enough. You need to live it. And that's where most people fail, because it's easy to listen, hard to do. It's easy to agree with your head, hard to obey with your actions. Today, you're going to discover that Jesus' parables aren't just ancient teachings, but they're practical, powerful instructions that, when applied, have the power to take you out of spiritual mediocrity and place you at a level of faith that most aren't even exists. Get ready, because what you're going to learn here isn't meant to stay in theory. It's meant to truly change your life. The cost of following Jesus, you know that feeling of starting something new, full of energy, but then realizing the path is longer than you imagined. Well, many people live this in their spiritual journey. They start excited, raise their hands in worship services, make sincere promises. But when God speaks to the heart about real changes, about leaving things behind, about going deeper, something changes. The excitement cools, the enthusiasm diminishes, and then comes that silent question, do I really want this? Jesus knew this. He wasn't one of those who deceived people with easy promises. On the contrary, he made it very clear. Following has a cost. And this cost isn't paid just once. No, it's daily, it's constant, it's real. When God saw your pain, He didn't promise a life without challenges. He promised to be by your side in each one of them. Following Jesus isn't like signing a contract where you only receive blessings and nothing else. It's a journey where you learn that the tears God sees have purpose, that renunciations make sense, that giving up certain things isn't loss, but gain. Many want the crown, but don't want to carry the cross. They want the miracle, but don't want the faith in Jesus Christ that sustains on ordinary days. They want the testimony of victory, but don't want to go through the valley. And that's where the problem lies. The Christian life was unmade to be lived only in moments of celebration, but especially in moments of silence, when everything seemed lost and you choose to continue. You're not alone. God is with you, but that doesn't mean the path will always be easy. It means you'll never walk without company. There are people who think faith is the absence of struggle, but it's not. Faith is the presence of conviction in the midst of struggle. It's that certainty that God sustained me up to here and will continue sustaining. It's knowing that when heaven is silent but God is acting, something greater is being prepared. Jesus didn't soften the message to attract more followers. He was direct. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. Denying yourself isn't self-annihilation, it's putting God first. It's choosing His ways even when yours seem more comfortable. And here's the difference between those who just start and those who finish: commitment. God heard your prayer, but now He expects you to walk in what you asked for. It's no use asking for courage and running from opportunities to be courageous. It's no use asking for patience and giving up at the first obstacle. It's no use asking for wisdom and ignoring the advice that comes from the Word. The cost of following Jesus is real, but the benefits are eternal. It's trading the temporary for the permanent, the superficial for the deep, the momentary for the eternal. And when you understand this, when you really comprehend that God acts in silence, preparing you for something greater, everything changes. The journey stops being just about conquering and becomes about becoming. And it's precisely in this process of becoming that you realize the price was necessary. Because without it, you would never be capable of carrying what God prepared for you. The tower, what it represents: planning, vision, calling, faith. Think of something you've built in your life. It could be a business, a relationship, a career, anything that required time and dedication. Now think, did you simply wake up one day and start from nothing, or was there planning? Jesus used the image of a tower precisely because everyone understood what it meant. A tower wasn't just any construction. It was something that demanded resources, time, long-term vision. It was impossible to build a tower on impulse. You needed to know exactly what you were doing, how many stone blocks you'd need, how many workers would be necessary, how long it would take. And spiritually, your faith, your calling, your walk with God are also a construction. And not just any construction, but one that needs to resist life's storms. When God speaks to the heart about a purpose, about a mission, He's not playing around. He's inviting you to something great, something that goes far beyond what you imagine. But here's the detail many ignore: spiritual greatness doesn't happen by accident. It's built brick by brick, decision by decision, obedience by obedience. The tower represents everything you're building in God. It's your character being molded. It's your faith being strengthened. It's your testimony being built before people. You're not alone. God is with you in this construction, but He expects you to pick up the tools and work. Many people want a ready-made tower, but God wants to teach you to build property, because when you learn to build, you no longer depend on ready-made structures. You become a builder of the kingdom. The tower also speaks of vision. You know that person who builds a house without thinking about the future, makes a room here, an extension there, all without planning. But in the end, it's a mess. The same happens in spiritual life. There are people living faith in an improvised way, without direction, without clear purpose. One day they're firm, the next they're scattered. One week they seek God intensely, the next they disappear. This isn't building a tower, it's gathering random stones. God sustained me isn't just a pretty phrase, it's a reality for those who have commitment to construction. And this commitment is born when you see beyond the present moment. When you can see that the tears God sees today are the cement that's strengthening your structure, that today's challenges are preparing the foundation for tomorrow's miracles. And there's more. The tower was something visible. Everyone saw it. When someone built a tower, the entire city followed the progress. Your spiritual life is also visible, whether you want it or not. People observe. They see when you're firm, and they see when you're wavering. They notice when there's coherence between what you say and what you live. And that's why so many give up, because building under others' eyes isn't easy. There are those who criticize, those who doubt, those who root against you. But here's the truth. God acts in silence, preparing every detail of your tower, even when no one is applauding, even when everything seemed lost, when heaven is silent, but God is acting behind the scenes of your story. The tower you're building today will be the testimony someone will need tomorrow. And that, my friend, is priceless. Calculate the cost, spiritual maturity versus excitement there. There's a huge difference between enthusiasm and commitment. Enthusiasm makes you start, but commitment makes you finish. Many people confuse the two in spiritual life. They go to a service, feel God's presence, cry, raise their hands, make sincere promises in that moment. But when they leave there and return to reality, when emotions cool and life demands its dues, everything changes. Then comes the question Jesus asked, did you calculate the cost? Calculating the cost isn't lack of faith, it's not pessimism, it's not unbelief, it's maturity. It's looking at the journey with honesty and asking, am I really willing to pay what this will cost? Because one thing is certain, following Jesus will cost you something. It may cost friendships that no longer edify, habits that need to be left behind, comforts that need to be sacrificed. God heard your prayer when you asked to be transformed, but now He expects you to participate in the process. Transformation doesn't happen only with prayer, it happens with decision. Calculating the cost is sitting with yourself and being sincere. Am I willing to obey when it's difficult? Am I willing to forgive when the hurt still aches? Am I willing to tithe when bills are tight? Am I willing to love when I'm not loved back? These are hard questions, but necessary. Because many people want the benefits of the kingdom, but don't want the commitment of the kingdom. They want God's peace, but don't want to give up the anxiety they feed with unnecessary worries. They want God's direction, but don't want to stop following their own ways. They want the miracle, but don't want to develop the faith in Jesus Christ that sustains on days without miracles. You know what the problem is with not calculating the cost? You start with wrong expectations. You think it'll be easy. You think God will remove all obstacles. You think the Christian life is a smooth ride. And when the first difficulty comes, the first trial, the first time you need to choose between pleasing God or pleasing people, you crumble. You get confused, question everything, wonder where God is. But God is exactly where He's always been, by your side. You're not alone. God is with you, but being with you doesn't mean He'll carry you in His arms your whole life. It means He'll teach you to walk even when the path is steep. It means that when everything seemed lost, when you thought you wouldn't make it, He was there, giving strength you didn't even know you had. God sustained me isn't past tense, it's continuous present. And here's the beauty of calculating the cost. When you know what awaits you, you don't give up at the first challenge. You prepare, you strengthen your faith, you seek knowledge, you surround yourself with people who edify, you feed on the Word. It's like an athlete who's going to compete in a marathon. He doesn't wake up on race day and simply runs. He trains months before. He adjusts his diet. He strengthens body and mind. And even so, during the race, it will hurt. He'll want to stop. But he continues, because he calculated the cost and decided it was worth it. In spiritual life, it's the same. The tears God sees during the process aren't a sign of failure, they're a sign of commitment. And when heaven is silent but God is acting behind the scenes, you don't panic, because you already knew there would be moments like this. You calculated the cost, and you decided Jesus is worth everything. The shame of the unfinished tower, superficial faith, and unfulfilled promises. Is there something worse than not starting? Yes, starting and not finishing. Jesus was direct in this parable when he said people would look at the unfinished tower and laugh. This person began to build and wasn't able to finish. This phrase carries enormous weight because it speaks about credibility, about testimony, about how people see your faith. It's not that God failed you. It's not that He abandoned you midway. It's that you stopped building. And you know what's sad? There are many unfinished towers out there. Many people who started with God made sincere promises, had real experiences, but midway gave up, put down the tools, left the construction halfway, and now they live with that weight, that feeling that they could have gone further, that God had more, but they simply didn't continue. The unfinished tower is the symbol of a faith that didn't resist difficulties. It's when the person serves God only, while everything is well, but at the first storm, abandons everything. It's when they follow Jesus while it's popular, but when persecution comes, contempt, criticism, they disappear. When God speaks to the heart about deep changes, about leaving that relationship that doesn't edify, about forgiving who hurt you, about being humble when pride screams loud, the person backs down. They prefer to leave the tower halfway than pay the price to finish. And then comes the shame. Not the shame God puts, because He never shames His children, but the natural shame of knowing you could have gone further and didn't. of seeing other people finishing their towers while yours remains the same size as years ago. God saw your pain when you started building. He saw every effort, every brick placed with difficulty, every moment you wanted to give up but continued. But He also sees when you stop, when you give up, when you choose the comfort of inertia instead of the discomfort of growth. And the saddest part, it's not God who condemns you for this. You condemn yourself. Because deep down, you know you had potential for more. You know that God equipped you, that God sustained me up to a point, but you chose not to go beyond. You know those people who live on spiritual past. Oh, back then I was so fervent, I prayed so much, I sought God so much, and today it's just memory. The tower stayed halfway, the calling was forgotten, the promises became just good intentions that never materialized. And here's the point. An unfinished tower serves no purpose. It doesn't protect anyone, doesn't offer vision, doesn't fulfill purpose. It's just a monument to what could have been, but wasn't. And spiritually, it's the same. A superficial faith that doesn't go all the way, doesn't transform anyone, doesn't change anyone's reality, doesn't impact the world around. It's like that person who knows the entire Bible, can quote verses by heart, but doesn't live any of them, who speaks of faith in Jesus Christ, but in practice lives as if God doesn't exist. You're not alone. God is with you, but He won't build the tower for you. He gives you the materials, the blueprint, the strength, but you need to build. And when everything seemed lost, when you look at your unfinished tower and think there's no way out, remember, with God there's always a new beginning. But this time, calculate the cost. This time, finish what you started. The foundation where many emotion versus obedience. Everyone knows that a strong construction begins with the base. You can have the best materials, the best workers, the best design. But if the foundation is weak, everything will collapse sooner or later. And this is exactly where many people are in spiritual life. They build on the wrong base. They build on emotion, on momentary excitement, on that good feeling they get in a service or in a moment of worship. And emotion is good. Don't misunderstand me. God created emotions. He has nothing against you feeling joy, peace, enthusiasm in His presence. The problem is when you build everything on top of that, because emotion is unstable. Today, you're on the heights. Tomorrow, you might be in the valley. Today, you feel God close. Tomorrow, you might feel He's distant. And if your faith depends on what you feel, it will oscillate along with your emotions. The true foundation isn't what you feel, it's what you decide. It's obedience. It's choosing to do what God commands, even when you don't feel like it. It's forgiving, even when the pain is still there. It's tithing, even when bills are tight. It's being faithful even when no one is watching. When God speaks to the heart, He doesn't expect you to always be excited to obey. He expects you to simply obey. Period. You know why? Because obedience is proof of love. Jesus Himself said, "If you love me, keep my commands." It's not if you love me, you'll feel wonderful things. No, it's keep, it's do, it's live. God heard your prayer when you asked for stronger faith. But strong faith isn't born from exciting moments. It's born from daily choices of obedience, even in small things. There are people who only seek God when they need something, when they're in crisis, when they're desperate, when everything seemed lost. Then they run to their knees, promise the world, make bargains with God. And when the situation improves, they disappear. Stop praying, stop reading the Bible, stop congregating. This kind of faith is built on the base of interest, not genuine love for God. It's utilitarian faith that only serves when convenient. And this kind of base can't handle pressure. At the first strong wind, at the first real test, everything collapses. You're not alone. God is with you isn't a phrase to use only when you need it. It's a truth to live every day in good and bad moments. It's knowing that God sustained me yesterday, is sustaining me today, and will sustain me tomorrow, regardless of how I'm feeling. Building on obedience means having deep roots. It means that when heaven is silent but God is acting, you don't despair. You trust. You wait. You keep doing what he commanded, even without seeing immediate results. It's like that farmer who plants the seed and does undig every day to see if it germinated. He simply trusts the process, cares for the land, waters, and waits, because he knows the harvest comes at the right time. The tears God sees during the wait aren't in vain. Each one is watering your foundation, strengthening your structure. And when the storm comes, and it will come, you can be sure you won't fall, because you didn't build on the quicksand of emotion, but on the firm rock of obedience. And the difference between a tower that stands and one that collapses is precisely there, in the quality of the foundation. Faith in Jesus Christ isn't a passing feeling, it's an eternal foundation. Application for today: Christianity as a lifestyle. Let's be honest, much of what we see today is weekend Christianity. People go to church on Sunday, sing, pray, raise their hands, feel God's presence. But on Monday, when they're at work, at college, at home, it seems like all that stayed at church. The way they treat people, the choices they make, the words they speak, the places they frequent, none of this reflects a life transformed by Christ. And there's the problem. They've turned Christianity into an event when it should be a lifestyle. Jesus didn't die on the cross to give you a few pleasant hours on Sundays. He died to give you a completely new life, every day, in every moment. When God speaks to the heart about change, he's not talking about superficial adjustments. He's talking about a deep transformation that affects every area of your existence. Think about it. Do you want Jesus as Savior or as Lord? The difference is enormous. A Savior is the one who pulls you out of the hole when you fall. A Lord is the one who directs every step of your life so you don't fall. Many people want Jesus as Savior. They want him to solve problems, heal diseases, bless finances. But when it's time to obey, to submit plans, to renounce personal desires, then they don't want it anymore. They want the benefits without the commitment. They want the crown without the cross. But it doesn't work that way. You're not alone. God is with you isn't a motivational phrase. It's a reality that demands reciprocity. If God is with you, you also need to be with God. And being with God means living according to His principles, not yours. It means your agenda aligns with His agenda, not the other way around. Look at your week and be honest. How many hours did you dedicate to God? I'm not just talking about prayer or Bible reading, but about living consciously in His presence, making decisions, thinking about pleasing Him, treating people with His love, using your money, your time, your talents for the kingdom. If the answer is very little or almost nothing, then you're living Christianity as an event, not as a lifestyle. And you know what the danger is? You become like that person who takes medicine only when sick, but doesn't take care of their health preventively. You only seek God in crisis, but don't cultivate a constant relationship with Him. And when the crisis comes too strong, when everything seemed lost, you have no spiritual reserve, you have no intimacy built, you have no history with God. Conclusion: encouraging the viewer to apply all this knowledge. So tell me, after everything you've seen here, what will change in your life? Or will you be another one who heard, agreed, found it interesting, but did nothing? Because knowledge without application is just information taking up space in your head. And look, God didn't bring you here for nothing. You didn't get to the end of this video by accident. God saw your pain. He knows exactly what you're going through. And He placed these truths in your path because He wants to lift you up, wants to make you grow, wants to take you out of spiritual sameness. But the decision is yours. Will you calculate the cost and start building for real? Or will you leave another unfinished tower in your story? Will you build your faith on the firm foundation of obedience, or will you continue depending only on emotions? Will you live Christianity as a lifestyle, every day, in every choice? Or will you continue being a Christian only on Sundays? Here's the challenge. Choose one thing, just one, that you learned here and apply it today. Not tomorrow, today. It could be forgiving someone. It could be starting to read the Bible every day. It could be giving up something you know isn't edifying your life. It could be being more obedient to God in what He's already told you, but you haven't done yet. Whatever it is, do it. Because when God speaks to the heart, He expects action, not just agreement. God heard your prayer. Now He wants to see your response. And remember, you're not alone. God is with you. Even when everything seemed lost, even when heaven is silent, but God is acting. He never abandoned you. The tears God sees aren't in vain. Each one is building something greater in you. Faith in Jesus Christ isn't for the weak, it's for the brave. For those who decide to finish what they started, no matter the cost. And if this content impacted you, if something here touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell, because every week there's new content to strengthen your faith, to teach you to live God's principles in practice, not just in theory. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. It could be that friend who's discouraged, that person who's thinking about giving up, someone who needs to know that God sustained me and will sustain them too. Leave here in the comments what you decided to apply today. Right there, I will, and complete with your decision, because when you declare it, you commit. And when you commit, God acts. So don't stop here. Keep learning, keep growing, keep building your tower to the end. See you in the next video, and remember, God is with you, always has been, always will be. Now go and live it.